What up, everybody? Welcome into Hockey Sense. Great to have you with us as always. The summer continues and there ain't nothing going on. I mean, there's still nothing going on, but we continue year round. And listen, I love doing it. Have a lot of different type of conversations. You know, the St. Louis Amateur Hockey Hall of Fame is, God, man, they've been around for at least 10 to 15 years now, have had some amazing classes. This one is no different. Ben Bishop is going to be going in, Paul Stastny going in, Chris Butler is going in, Lindsay Middlebrook. I don't have the whole entire list in front of me, but a lot of NHL names and a lot of guys who obviously had some real successful careers. So I like pumping it up. You know, Scotty Rupp and the entire staff over there, they just do an unreal job. It was long overdue that we had something like that here to celebrate St. Louis hockey, because we've had so many great players come out of the St. Louis area, accomplish big things, accomplish great things. And such a big part of hockey is, you know, the game that's played at the roots level. I know everyone focuses on the St. Louis Blues, and for good reason, right? The NHL team here in town. But for so many people, hockey is truly what it means to, you know, be involved and to see it grow at the roots level with all the different organizations, all the coaches, all the players, everyone who's gotten involved. And to see individuals be recognized every summer is a lot of fun. And this year coming up is going to be my third year emceeing the event. I love doing it every year. We've had some great classes the last couple of seasons, or last couple of summers, and this year is no different. So I'm looking forward to what's to come this go around coming up in August. So Chris Butler is going to join us on this edition of Hockey Sense. And we'll get some of the other guys on as well over the course of the next few weeks as we move closer and closer towards August 23rd, which is the induction date. And tickets are available. It's open to the public. So if you ever want to get out there, and it's a great opportunity to rub shoulders with some of the biggest names in St. Louis hockey history, get to know some people, network, get some pictures taken, see some of the incredible memorabilia that's out there. I mean, I don't know where they find all this stuff, but it's absolutely unreal to see what the room looks like once they get the room completely decorated. It's like a museum. And that's one thing we need. If anybody has any suggestions out there who's listening, we need a St. Louis Amateur Hockey Hall of Fame location. You know, everything should be under one roof. It should be down at the Enterprise Center, maybe a Centene. I don't know. I don't know if other organizations would feel slighted if it was at Centene and it wasn't at their rink. But when you look at Centene and how many people walked through that rink on a daily basis, and the fact that the Blues practice there, and it's the Blues practice facility, they have offices there, everything, that would make sense to me. I'd have no issue if it was at Centene. Now, I could see why some maybe would take issue with that. If you're with a different organization and you'd say, well, why is it at Centene? It should be at this rink or that rink. Okay, I get it. The Enterprise would make a lot of sense, too, to put it at Enterprise Center. But we'll get into that later. And I think at one time it was at the Enterprise Center. They had a display in the concourse. I think, and I don't want to speak for anybody with the Blues or anybody else, but I just wonder maybe there's some confusion when people see that, confusing that with the St. Louis Blues Hall of Fame, which, by the way, I'm on the committee and I do vote for the St. Louis Blues Hall of Fame. Every year, give their nominations. And by the way, welcome into Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. You know that. Do your banking, do it the right way with First Community. But every year you have to unveil your selections. And there are some rules you have to go by. They had to have played at least 3 seasons or 200 games as a Blue. And that number can include playoff games, not just regular season. You had to be retired from the NHL. You had to have demonstrated exceptional attributes in whether it's playing ability. I mean, you can talk about sportsmanship and character and all that, but we all know you get in based on your ability to play the game, and certainly, you know, your ability to impact the community. There are some players who had different roles. Maybe their role was more of a tough guy but they made a huge impact in the community. You know, you think of a guy like Kelly Chase, for example, who would fall into that category, Tony Twist, all these guys. Winning the Stanley Cup or any, major NHL award during their tenure with the Blues. I think Barrett Jackman would fall into that category, obviously winning the Calder as the Rookie of the Year. So feel free to get back to me. Leave your comments below and let me know what you think in terms of players that are now being considered for this year's Hockey Hall of Fame class. And for those of you who are new to the Blues, and it's not Hockey Hall of Fame, it's Blues Hall of Fame. But for those of you who may not be very familiar with the St. Louis Blues Hall of Fame, the first year, and I think this is going to be the third or fourth year that we've done it, the first year, all the players and the legends who have their numbers retired or whose names are hanging from the rafters, and they were automatically inducted. Okay, so whether that's Brett Hull, Brian Sutter, Bernie Federko, all of those legends were, Al McInnes, Chris Pronger. I mean, they were automatically inducted. And then, you've gotten to other individuals like Curtis Joseph and Big Walt, Keith Kachuk, who went in, and the list goes on and on. It's been a lot of people. So here's where we're looking at right now for this particular class. And we'll start with the executives. You have Ron Caron, Emile Francis. I think a lot of people would say, hey, Emile Francis needs to be in there. He drafted Bernie Federko, drafted Brian Sutter, drafted Mike Liut. Mike Liut went in last year. Always great to see him when he came in. And he was part of the Blues as a head coach, I think, a couple different times during the course of his career. Late 70s, early 80s, he was a head coach. Ken Hitchcock, I think he should go in. Joel Quenneville should go in. Mike Shanahan should go in as a owner. He was, led a local ownership group to purchase the Blues in 1986, built the Kiel Center. I think he'll go down as the second best owner, maybe one of the best owners in Blues history. He was widely considered the best owner ever prior to the Stillman group coming around. I think Stillman and his group has certainly passed any previous ownership group with everything they've done, whether it's league events or the way the building looks, but obviously winning a Stanley Cup. And Tom Stillman's the best owner the Blues have ever had. I don't think anybody could disagree with that. Goaltenders, you have Brian Elliott, you have Grant Fuhr. I mean, now we're getting into some great names, okay? Now, players, Al Arbor, and you old school listeners who are watching Hockey Sense right now, make your case for Al Arbor. His first captain in Blues history. He was head coach in the early 70s as well. He would be a strong candidate. David Backes, longtime captain of the Blues, 30 goals on a couple of different occasions, won a silver medal in the Olympics, represented the USA on a number of occasions, and obviously the Blues on the international stage. Put up incredible numbers. One of the best captains the Blues have ever had. Jeff Brown, just an elite offensive defenseman during his heyday. How good was he? Kelly Chase, I mentioned him before, all the work in the community. He did win the King Clancy Award in 1998. King Clancy, I always mispronounce that. Tough to say 5 times in a row. King Clancy. Chaser has done as much as anybody in terms of what he's done in the community, and among the most popular players to ever put the jersey on, there's no doubt. Blake Dunlop, he won the Bill Masterson Trophy back in 1981, and that's for sportsmanship and all of that type of stuff. You have to look up the definition. I don't have it in front of me for the Bill Masterton. But Blake Dunlop still lives here in St. Louis. Great guy, great family man, and certainly widely respected among the Blues alumni. Barrett Jackman won the Calder, like I said. He may be second all-time in games played in the history of the Blues, just behind Bernie Federko, the most games played by a defenseman in Blues history. Rick Mahar, did he win the Selke? He did, in 1990. And he was captain of the Blues in 89-92. I loved Rick Mahar, man. Number 22, how good was he back in the day? Great face-off guy, too. Very good defensive forward. Joey Mullen, just an incredible offensive player. Played on the same line as Sutter and Federko for a while. The first line that I knew as a line as a kid growing up was the Mullen, Sutter, Federico line. And Sutter and Federico are already in. Joey Mullen had amazing success, won a couple Stanley Cups, maybe 3. Won one with Calgary. Didn't win one here, obviously, but I think he was part of at least one with Pittsburgh, right? But again, this is the Blues Hall of Fame. Adam Oates. I think Adam Oates needs to be in. I mean, his run, he only played here for 3 years, but his run was as good as anything we've ever seen here in St. Louis, and obviously helped Brett Hull score 80 goals, 70, 80 goals a year for a 3-year stint that was unlike anything we've ever seen. I think Hully had 86, and Adam Oates still missed much of the season with an injury. I mean, if he would have played the entire season, he would have broken Wayne Gretzky's goal-scoring record, single-season goal-scoring record. TJ Oshie, as popular of a player as you're ever going to find here in St. Louis, just retired. Great player here with the Blues. Then you get into Jorgen Pettersson, Rob Ramage, widely respected, former captain of the Blues, was an all-star defenseman here with the Blues. Brendan Shanahan scored 50 goals. He and Hully both scoring 50 goals in the same season. Back-to-back 50-goal seasons here with the Blues. Brendan Shanahan's got to get in. Alexander Steen's got to get in at some point. I mean, huge part of the Stanley Cup winning team in 2019. 4th most games and 6th in points in Blues history. And then Pierre Turgeon, who just went into the Hockey Hall of Fame recently. But what a run he had here as well. Back in the late 90s. Point per game player over the course of his Blues career. So those are some of the names. Let us know who you think belongs in. Don't be putting names down there that for guys who are already in. I mean, I can see it right now. Somebody's going to be like, Curtis Joseph, he needs to be in. Brett Hull needs to be in. Those guys are in. So think about something different. You're going to have some milestones entering this season that the Blues PR staff put out today. And it's kind of interesting. Doug Armstrong's going to, he's going to what? He's going to pass. I think he'll pass. Yeah, he's going to pass Bobby Clarke. For career games as a GM, he's going to be in the top 15 by the end of the season. And this is his last season as a GM, too. So at least here with the Blues. With Alexander Steen taking over. Doug Armstrong, 45 games shy of 900, or 45 wins shy of 900 for his career as a GM. That's pretty good. Could become the 9th GM of all time to reach 900. Jim Montgomery, about to hit 400 career games coached. And he'll return to Boston on December 4th. That's going to be a big storyline, there's no doubt. Look forward to that game. Nick Bjugstad, new to the Blues, 40 games shy of 800. He's played way more games than people realize. Pavel Buchnevich, 7 shy of 600 career games, 8 shy of 300 games as a Blue, 18 points shy of, or goals shy of 200 career goals, and 24 assists shy of 300, and just 42 points shy of 500. So he's going to hit some milestones this season for sure. Those are all super achievable for a guy like Pavel Buchnevich. How about Braden Shen, the captain? He's going to get to 600 games as a Blue this season. Should get, hopefully, if he has a good season. I mean, listen, 22 goals shy of 300 career goals as a Blue. Or 300 career goals, I should say. 22 shy of 300 career goals. And then 78 games shy of 1,100 career games. Of course, he got to 1,000 career games late in the season, much like Cam Fowler did. He's 58 games shy of 1,100 career games. Just 7 points shy of 500 career points. 12 assists away from 400 career assists. Jordan Binnington, 27 wins shy of 200 career wins, all with St. Louis. Gotta love that. Colton Parayko, by the way, we were talking about all-time games played here for the Blues and how Bernie Federico is the all-time leader at 927, then Barrett Jackman at 803. Of course, Jackman, the all-time leader among defensemen, second all-time among all skaters in the history of the organization. Brian Sutter coming in at third at 779. No surprise there. We mentioned Steen was fourth. Pietrangelo finishes in the top 5 And who knows if he'll ever play again, but certainly his career as a Blue is over. But 758 career games as a Blue, played a long time. Then you get to Holly, Backus at 7, and then Colton Parayko now at 723. If this guy continues to stay healthy and he signs another extension after his current deal, this guy's going to pass Bernie Federko for the all-time games played list. I mean, it's very doable. He's 200 games away, 204. So what is that, 3 seasons? This guy doesn't get hurt very often. Knock on wood with that, with Colton Parayko. It's amazing. He's at 295 career points, so he'll get to 300 this year. He's going to pass Rob Ramage, who's 4th all-time with the Blues at 296. Top 3 are going to be tough to beat anytime soon, with McInnes number 1, followed by Pietrangelo. Pietrangelo was at 450 when he left St. Louis. Just 2 shy of Al McInnes. He could have been the all-time leader among defensemen in scoring for the Blues if he didn't leave. Pronger's 3rd at 356. So a couple of Hall of Famers there. Pietrangelo should join them in the Hall of Fame at some point. So those are some of the interesting numbers to pay attention to. Career goals by defensemen. McInnes is 1st at 127. Parayko at 5th all-time at 77. So there's a pretty significant gap there. And Petrangelo's number 1 in assists by defensemen in the history of the Blues, followed by McInnes, Pronger, Ramage. That's like your top 5. Those guys. Jeff Brown may find his name on a list here. He certainly does with the goals. Just amazing group of players who played here. Anyway, notable dates. We'll get into that because the schedule is out. We're still waiting on that national TV schedule, which we don't have yet. We know October 9th is the season opener versus Minnesota. Pius Suter's first game back in Vancouver is on October 13th. The 18th, Radek Faksa returns to St. Louis. Just played here 1 year, but we love Radek Faksa. Just watching his Instagram today, he was at in Rome, Italy for a wedding. A bunch of Dallas Stars players there. So, he's got to be happy to return to Dallas, though, man. He's been there for so long. Knows everybody. Miro Haskin, he's the one who got married in Dallas. Brandon Saad returns to St. Louis. And then the beginning of a season-long 5-game road trip, November 18th. That's going to be a long one. 5-game road trip, season-long. And then December, you got Jim Montgomery going back to Boston, like we mentioned. Logan Mayhew's first game back in Montreal is going to be December 7th. The 17th, that's the first rematch of the Blues versus the Winnipeg Jets. We look forward to that. Of course, the Jets beating St. Louis in Game 7 of the playoffs this past season in the first round, double overtime. Zach Bolduc comes back to St. Louis in January. You got an Olympic break. This is going to be a long break from the 5th to the 25th, almost 3 weeks off, with no NHL hockey, although we'll have the Olympics, so that'll be exciting to watch. Nick Leddy, you forget that he plays with San Jose. He comes back to St. Louis in March. And then the final home game versus Pittsburgh, April 14th, final game of the season in Utah. The Blues finish on the road. So that's where we're at. And that's, when it's August, we get into this type of stuff. So thanks for the Blues PR staff for giving us some content for the show today. Although some great things happening, obviously. The Hockey Canada just announced which players are going to attend the upcoming Olympic evaluation camp. Although the games in the NHL will count and they're going to matter. And but Robbie Thomas, obviously, among those on the list, and he is certainly deserving. Colton Parayko's back there. Jordan Binnington is back there. I think Parayko and Binnington are locks. I'd like to say that Robert Thomas is a lock. I don't know if he'll be a lock, but if he has a good first half of the season, he's going to be difficult to keep off that team. He's just too good of a player. If you suffer an injury, you wouldn't miss a beat if you had to slide him up to be your first-line center, second-line center. He's so capable of being that. Even on the international stage with the world's best players, he's in that group. But if you had to have him in your bottom 6, if you had to play wing, probably could play wing, although you'd be foolish to probably do that. But, great face-off guy. can kill penalties, good on the power play. I mean, I hope Robbie Thomas finds his way onto Hockey Canada's roster and joins Parayko and Jordan Binnington. So we'll see how that plays out. The Americans, I don't think USA Hockey has released the list, have they? I mean, there's some talk about Lane Hudson. People are freaking out because Lane Hudson not invited to the camp. Now, the camp is one thing. I mean, maybe get him into the camp. Let him come to the camp. You don't need to, embarrass him or slight him by not inviting him to the camp. But at the same time, you've got Quinn Hughes. Give all these other guys. Like, you don't need Lane Hudson on the team for the Olympics right now. He's not going to come on there and quarterback the power play for this particular event. Although, we'll see what kind of year he has this year. His point production may just completely explode. He's got that much ability. And you don't need him or want him out there defending 5-on-5 when you have other options. So you wouldn't put him ahead of the other options that you have out there either. But Lane Hudson's a hell of a player. People are like freaked out that he's not going to beat out some of these other guys. He's only had one season in the NHL. He'll get his turn. He's going to play at some point in time, but he's going to have to wait his turn. So anyway, so that's where we're at right now with the Olympic rosters. Chris Butler coming up in just a couple of minutes. Looking forward to that conversation with him. Jamal Mayers still to come later on in the program. On this edition of Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community, as it is in every single week that we do live from the HHoF studios. Back to school auto loans, man. We like talking about this. Summer, it's coming to an end all of a sudden. Now it's back to school time. There's only one thing that your student might need, and that's a car. If they're going back to college, they may need a car. Or even if they're in high school, they might need a car. You don't want to be their personal Uber driver. Listen, I'm driving my kids around so much, I almost can't wait for them to drive, even though it's going to be more expensive when they do start driving. But you can buy a new or reliable quality car or a used car. And here's the secret with First Community. Their auto loans are the same whether you buy new or used. So a lot of times you buy these new cars, and the rate is higher on a new car than it is a used car. That's not the case at First Community. 4.99 APR for 36 months for qualified borrowers. It's pretty amazing. And do your homework if you don't believe it. I mean, go look around and see what other rates you come up with from other dealerships. It's unbelievable. No payment for your first 90 days either. But that's the secret. Your loan is the same. The rate is the same if it's a used car versus a new car, or versus a new car. You won't find that anywhere else, but you do find it with First Community. Blue Note Roofing, you see the sign behind me. Gutters, soffit, fascia, roofing, siding, whatever you need. 314-920-5713. Call my boy David Novak today. Let him come take care of you. You know he will. Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop. We love our friends over there at Dirt Cheap. They've got so many locations. Some have drive-thrus. Many of them have curbside assistance. You don't even have to get out of your car. You can do your shopping from their app. Don't sleep on the party supplies. If you got any backyard barbecues or anything you have going on, back-to-school parties, birthday parties, any other thing you have going on before you want to close the pool or before it starts getting colder outside, get everything you need at Dirt Cheap. They got the best selection of beer, wine, and booze you'll find anywhere over there at Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop, baby. The Wallace family, flat out getting it done. These guys are incredible. Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop. But check out the app, man. They got a lot of great deals on the app, too. They got cigars there. You can buy lottery tickets. You can buy anything you want, as you know. Their selection of booze is amazing. And they've got these walk-in beer coolers that are as nice and as big as anything you're going to find. Anything. Best selection of tequilas, whatever it is you're looking for. You'll find the best prices and the best selection at one of your closer Dirt Cheap locations. Lordo's Diamonds, get that special someone, something special in your life from Lordo's Diamonds, lordosdiamonds.com. They've been around for 70 years. That's all you need to know about Lordo's Diamonds. Longevity, best customer service. You walk in there with a $500,000 budget or a $500 budget. Guess what? You're getting treated exactly the same. And they'll treat you exactly the same. Mike and Jimmy Lordo, these guys are the greatest. They're so good at what they do. They've got the best selection. And again, the customer service you won't find anywhere else. Remember how you used to get treated when you walk into a business? That's how they treat you over at Lordo's Diamonds. You know they're going to take care of you. So check that out and do it today. LordosDiamonds.com, right there in the heart of the do. Right next to Truffles. Can't miss it. Off of Clayton Road, 314-432-8008. You can check out their website, LordosDiamonds.com. All right, lots to come here on this edition of Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. We're live at the HHoF Studios. We'll do all of that and then some. So much more. Maddie's in the house. Chris Butler next. Jamal Mayers to come. Don't go anywhere. All right, Chris Butler, the professional Chris Butler, man. You had to transition from being a player and now you're like in hockey ops. How much are you enjoying this now, working with the Pittsburgh Penguins and doing what you're doing? It's great to see you, and thanks for doing this.
For sure. I love it. I think I knew towards the end of my career, spending a number of years towards the tail end of the minors and kind of being in that mentorship role, that leadership role, helping, the next wave of draft picks come in. I really enjoyed that. I got a tremendous amount of joy out of seeing guys like Sammy Blais and Vince Dunn and Mackenzie McEachern and different guys like that go up and play in the NHL. And I enjoyed being a small part of kind of their process and their journey. So this has been a pretty natural transition for me.
Hey, what's it like being a player, though? I mean, listen, and you always got to like worry about those coming up behind you. But, there was a good stretch during the course of your career. You were a solidified NHL player. And then kind of transitioning into being that mentor, because it's easy just to be like, okay, this is not fun. I want to get back into the NHL. But you got to maintain a certain level of focus, right? Your headspace has got to be in the right place when you're in that situation later in your career, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was great because we did have a number of good young defensemen, the Joel Edmondsons, the Parekos, all these guys that have come up and had awesome careers. But it motivates you to be better, right? Because even though I still was, spending the majority of my time in the minors, I still wanted that opportunity to get called up. And you never know if you're ever going to get one more shot, one more game, a month-long stretch in the NHL. So it helps keep you sharp and it helps keeps you focused and kind of keeps that competitive drive alive.
Yeah, Vince Dunn, he's ended up having a real nice career, doing a great job out there in Seattle. Pareko, for example, and Edmondson, I mean, all these guys that you just mentioned, I mean, these guys are all, enjoying life and having great careers. But did you know Pareko right off the bat? Did you know that he was going to be what he's become, Canada, Olympic team, all of that, and just truly a dominating defender in the NHL? Did you see that early on?
I mean, you definitely saw glimpses of it. I mean, the guy's 6'6", chiseled out of stone, and can shoot the puck 100 miles an hour. So right there, I knew that, well, those are three things that I don't have. So this guy's got a leg up on me. But I think it's been really awesome to watch his transition once Petro left, to be able to see him take on more of a role. And, I know a lot of people were surprised by him getting named to the Four Nations team. But when you're around him, like you guys are, and you see him play so often, it's no surprise. I mean, the guy's a complete stud. He can play any number of roles, and he just takes up so much time and space. Like he's an awesome player.
Yeah. And listen, it's not a shot at anyone, but I remember reporting, or I put on Twitter or something, that, Pareko was going to make the team for Canada. And I immediately was getting text messages from, prominent Canadian media being like, this is, I haven't heard his name. Like, I mean, they hadn't even heard his name. So, like, are you sure about this? And I'm like, yeah. Like, I mean, you almost second guess your own information. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure. Like, he's on the team. And then, you get into the tournament and people start to appreciate what he brings to the table. And that's what I like about NHL scouting and executive. I mean, they just know the game so well, and the way they're able to put together these teams and how they scout individual players and recognize what individual players bring to the table versus, people who really aren't paying as close attention to it, especially here in St. Louis. So it was good to see him get recognized. And now I think he's in a good spot to make the Olympic team as well. So good on Colton Pareko,
No, for sure. And he's a great guy. And, being able to kind of ride the coattails of the 2019 team and just watching the way he and Bouwmeester played together, I'd have to imagine that was still pretty fresh in Army's mind, just as far as being able to elevate in big situations, shut down top lines, kill plays. He can do it all.
How good was Petro when you got to see him on a daily basis? He's obviously going through some stuff right now, and we'll see if he ever ends up playing again. But like, what separated him from the rest of the group?
I think for me with Petro is just his composure, being able to make plays under pressure. And you look at obviously what he's going through right now physically, it's because he did take a beating. Not a lot of true number 1 defensemen block shots like he did and take hits like he did to make plays. Like he put his body in harm's way quite often in order to make the right play for the team. And I think that's why he was such a good leader.
Yeah, man, I like the way you put that. It's a shame there wasn't a 2020 season, or at least
No,
obviously COVID obviously interrupted it. But the Blues were on a roll, and I don't think they're recognized as Stanley Cup champions for being as dominant or as good of a team as they were, because of the whole story. How they, you guys obviously got it going late in the season, the whole Binnington thing, coaching change, all of that. I think that following season would have been an opportunity for them to really make a statement, and I think they were poised to go back to back. But so I'm just curious your opinion on that.
well, I think the COVID bubble was unique depending on your team's perspective.
Yeah.
And the Blues had just come off a complete high, and now the world's shutting down, and you're getting shoved into a hotel with no ability to connect to the outside world. And I think some groups relish that, and other teams maybe weren't as interested to compete and play in that environment. And I just think that, you hear the narrative that some people say that that was the hardest one to win. And I would probably say the exact opposite, that it was probably one of the easier ones to win, because I think there were guys that didn't want to be there, and you're pulled away from your family, and COVID presented a number of unique challenges that unfortunately put us in that situation.
No, I think you're right. Remind me, were you in the bubble or no? Or did you retire after 19?
I retired after 19, and I'm very thankful I was not getting a nasal swab every single day just to go to practice.
Oh my God. And it's funny you say that, because I said it right at the time. And in talking to a lot of guys, it was the teams who hadn't won that I think had that motivation to kind of stick it out and grind
For
through.
sure.
All the teams that had won, um, Washington obviously was a recent winner. St. Louis was a recent winner. I mean, you had some other teams, who had, a number of Stanley Cup winners on their team, but I just don't think they were interested in sticking around and living in a hotel for a couple months.
Yeah, and I think that that's fair. I can't say that I would be, as a fringe guy, that didn't sound too appealing to me. I was much happier being home with my family at that point in time.
Hey, when do you decide? And we're going to get into the St. Louis Amateur Hockey Hall of Fame here in just a minute, because Chris Butler obviously is headliner on that class, and you're going in with a couple of Chaminade guys, obviously who you've known for a long time. So this is going to be a fun night coming up here in St. Louis, in St. Charles, actually coming up on August 23rd. But when do you know one of the hardest things has to be is retiring from something you've done your entire life? Like, when do you know, and how do you know that it's time?
I had gone through a second concussion when I was playing in the American League. Took a puck to the face, and just for a little period of time wasn't right. And obviously came back healthy and played. But my wife was pregnant with our second kid at that time. I think I was 30, 31 years old. And I was just really at peace with everything that I had done up until that point. And I didn't want to have lingering effects from concussions post-playing career. Steve Montador was a friend of mine, got a chance to play with him in Buffalo, was really close with him. And just seeing all of the troubles that he had post-playing career, and, hearing about stories that guys like Dan Carcillo that went through some really hard times. And I just didn't want to subject my family to those types of situations. And I knew that I had interests outside of hockey and within hockey, and I wanted to be able to be around for my kids and be present, and not have to worry about not being able to go outside and dealing with sunlight and the noise and of having small children. So for me, it was a tough decision, especially after being around and seeing the group win the Stanley Cup. I did have a conversation with Army about potentially coming back. But I think at that point I knew that it was just time.
So, who took the shot, by the way? You took a puck to the face, like a slap shot to the face?
Yeah, we were playing in Chicago in the American League. I was with San Antonio, and just it was a point shot that ricocheted up and caught me in the side of the head. And it wasn't, I didn't break any bones. It didn't really catch me flush, but it was one of those, like, happened midway through the first period. And then as the game kind of went on, I just started feeling dizzy and nauseous and off balance, and had to remove myself from that one, and then was sidelined for a couple of weeks with it. And then that was, I guess, a time where I kind of reflected on what I wanted to do moving forward.
Wow, it's crazy. Are you doing the player development stuff right now for Pittsburgh? And I don't even know if people realize what you're doing, that you're, living in Minnesota and that you're working with the Pittsburgh Penguins organization. So, um, are you enjoying it? Like, what does that entail? Are you traveling a lot? Are you going to, skate with prospects? Are you with the American League team? Like, what's taking up the most of your time?
Yeah, so the majority of my job is with our drafted prospects, mainly our defensemen. Obviously, being in the state of Minnesota, we have a lot of colleges that come through here, so I catch a lot of our collegiate guys when they come through the state. But the really cool thing about our job once Kyle came in and took over as GM is we spend a ton of time on the ice with our prospects and practices. So uh, most of the major junior teams are really great with their time and their access that we have to these kids. So we get out there, we spend some time on the ice, we go over different drills that we think can maybe help them. We watch video with them, we cut clips for them. It's something that it doesn't really feel like a job, and I'm having a blast doing it.
Okay, so how does that work when you're? I mean, because these kids obviously play on a team, so you come into town, you give the coach a heads up, hey, we're coming in. So you grab them before practice, after practice, days off, game day. Like, how do you find the time to get them away from the team?
Yeah, obviously we build a relationship with their coaching staff and reach out ahead of time and schedule these things, weeks, months out. And most of the time it's before practice. A lot of these teams now have great access to extra ice. They might have a full hour before practice or a half an hour. And it's fun too because, other guys can come on the ice. We'll offer that to their coaching staff if they want to send out their D partner or something like that. So that way we're helping some other people too. And it's been a ton of fun.
And then you tell Kyle, hey, they got this undrafted kid that's like, that's pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, it's a great. I mean, if I was a kid playing on the team, I'd be like, yeah, sign me up. I want to. And if I was undrafted, I want to get on the ice with anybody who's affiliated with an NHL team that's coming through town. So, has that always been like that? Did you have that at Denver? Did you have guys coming in from Buffalo? No.
No, never. I mean, I don't even think I got a phone call from the Buffalo Sabres when I got drafted. And I think my first communication with them was like the following summer. Actually met Nate Gerby at the World Junior training camp in the summertime, who was recently drafted by Buffalo. And we got to talking, and he was asking if I had been notified by Buffalo or talked to anyone. I said no. I asked him. He hadn't heard from anybody. So kind of a unique situation, but yeah, the landscape of player development has definitely changed in the last 15 years.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And I see Nathan Gerby all the time. Our kids are the same age. He runs the program out there in Detroit.
Yeah, he's crazy.
I mean, dude, it's like, I mean, it's next level, but he knows it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, did you notice? Like, you know him since he was a kid. Did he have that work ethic as a kid?
He did. He loves the game. I think his dad pushed him pretty hard when he was young. I think he's doing that maybe in a little bit of a lighter way now with his kids. But I mean, he was always a guy that had been told, "You're never going to make it. You're too small. You're too this," and he carried that chip on his shoulder and ended up having a hell of a career. Super talented, but man, like he was tough, feisty. He'd stick you, he'd spear you, and but then he'd have the hands to be able to stick handle through you and roof one on you. So he's a heck of a player.
Yeah, no doubt. He's doing what you're doing now, right? With Nashville. Yeah.
Naturally, yeah, we run into each other a couple times a year, so it's fun.
Do you guys keep it? Like, do you talk to other player development guys? I mean, are you able to like share ideas and just kind of pick their brain and what other teams are doing, or you just kind of keep it to yourself?
I mean, I think you keep the important things to yourself, but guys like that, Tim Kennedy's a longtime friend of mine, works with Buffalo. You run into each other and you just start talking hockey like you always would. So it is fun to just hear their different perspective on things. Obviously, those guys are forwards. I play D, so it's fun for me to just kind of ask questions about what they see in forwards or things that they look for that can help guys. So it's not a super in-depth conversation, but it is fun to just talk hockey and pick their brain.
Tim Kennedy, Michigan State, won a Frozen Four here in St. Louis, right?
Yep.
2007, I remember. His name came up actually recently. I mean, some great players from all four of those teams that came into St. Louis for the Frozen Four. How far did Denver go when you were there?
Not very far. They had just won back-to-back national championships right when I got there. So my freshman year, I don't even think we made the tournament. Sophomore year, God, I want to say we missed out. In my junior year, we made the tournament, but we drew the University of Wisconsin at the Kohl Center in Wisconsin. So it was kind of a tough draw.
So that was back when they would have home teams play in their home buildings. They want to go back to that now. Do you like that idea or no?
I love that idea. I think if you're the one seed, you should host. I think it makes for a better environment. I've been able to see the NCHC playoffs up in Minnesota the last number of years, and I just think if we were to put that on somebody's college campus, like we had a prospect at Western Michigan this year, and seeing that Lawson Arena go crazy on a Friday and Saturday night, I can't imagine what it would look like for a playoff game. So I'm all for that idea.
Are you getting out and watching games too, or is it primarily just going into town to work with them on the ice? But you're sticking around, you're watching games and essentially scouting, right?
Yeah, we do both, and I think it's nice too because then you can watch other drafted players or kids that maybe I'd seen play in Minnesota high school here, and just kind of you form up certain opinions of guys, and you're kind of tracking their progression loosely as well. So it's fun.
When you went to Denver, like were you considered an NHL prospect at that time? And coming up, Butsy, like when did you really start to kind of separate yourself from the pack? Where you knew you had a chance to go play at a good college, play at a high level, and potentially have a professional career.
Um, I want to say it was probably after my first year in Sioux City. And the greatest thing that ever happened to me was I was tendered to go play in the North American Hockey League for the Capital Center Pride. And it was right before Junior B Nationals when I was playing for the St. Louis Junior Blues. That team folded. So I basically had nowhere to play next year and got invited to a couple USHL camps. Travis Turnbull was tendered by Sioux City. Um, so I went to Sioux City's tryout camp and made the team in the summertime. Went up there, got scratched my first couple of games, and just kind of kept practicing, kept working. And I'm super thankful to Perry Turnbull. He, I think, was in my corner and was bugging the assistant coach in Sioux City to give me a good look. And I think had he not been in my corner and I don't make that team, then I think a lot of things could have been different.
Well, you got to have that, right? I mean, so many kids don't, Chris. Like you're fortunate from that standpoint.
Yeah, you need somebody that believes in you. And then you also have to put in the work. I think a lot of times if you're scratched the first couple of games, you're away from home for the first time, it's easy to maybe kind of to pack up and head home. But I knew that is what I wanted to do. I wanted to pursue that. And my goal was always to play college hockey. I thought if I could play college hockey, then that would be a dream come true. And then it was after my second year junior, my head coach brought me in after the season, kind of doing our end of the year meeting. He said, you know what, I think you're going to get invited to the World Junior Training Camp. I said, that's awesome. What is that? Like, I had no idea, right? We didn't have the exposure in St. Louis. It wasn't televised a ton in the States. Like the US wasn't really, dominating international tournaments like they have in the last number of years. So I think once I got to that training camp and then made the team and then competed against, the best kids in my berth here from around the world, I think for me, that was a huge confidence boost for me that, hey, you know what? I think you got a good crack at this.
Yeah, no, I still remember you watching you play in the World Juniors. Your dad, Doug, right? He played for St. Louis University. So that's the family connection to St. Louis because he didn't grow up here, right? Did he come to St. Louis specifically just to play college hockey and decided to throw down his roots and raise his family here? Is that how it played out?
Yeah, exactly. So my dad is from Souris, Manitoba. It's a town of about 2,000 people, about 2 hours from Winnipeg. And he got recruited playing like a senior men's hockey tournament to come down and play for St. Louis University. Came down, played there, met my mom, who was a women's field hockey player. So they hit it off, and she grew up in St. Louis, and we stayed here, and the rest is history.
And so St. Louis hockey in general, like when you first started playing and I'm talking, at a competitive level, started playing AAA, like were you guys competitive? Were you beating teams from the traditional hockey states or were you like a lot of us just kind of, getting humbled when you go play against, teams from the Minnesotas, the Michigans and the Massachusetts?
Yeah, it was extremely humbling. Obviously, we didn't have a ton of guys from St. Louis at that time that were moving on and, playing major junior, playing college, playing pro. We just didn't have the depth that a lot of the other teams did. So, when we would leave the state to go play, the Team Illinois, the Honeybakes, the Caesars, I mean, we were getting killed. I remember going across the border into, I think it was a tournament in Sarnia, and playing these Canadian teams. And it was like men against boys. Like we were just getting dominated. So I think I always kind of carried that little bit of chip on my shoulder, being a St. Louis guy, and, you know, we weren't supposed to make it. We weren't supposed to be any good. So I always kind of carried that with me throughout my career.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you mentioned Perry Turnbull, and I remember even when you got drafted, I did a little story on. I was working at KMOX Radio at the time, and I think I called your dad and I talked to Chris or Perry Turnbull at the time. But where'd you play before that? Kirkwood, right? You grew up playing at Kirkwood. Like who really kind of helped you fall in love with the game and is responsible for like developing, your skill level to get to the point where you could play at a high level even as a young kid before, you got to real hockey.
Yeah, I think it was definitely my dad and my mom. I just remember loving going to the rink and being on the ice. My dad was our coach for Kirkwood Double A, and another guy named Scott Stream. He and his son is still one of my best buddies today. And I just, hockey was fun then. Kirkwood was an outdoor rink before it got enclosed. And, my dad was a big part of that process of getting it enclosed and kind of turning it into what it is today. So I think just those car rides with my dad, talking about hockey, driving to Peoria, Pekin, Illinois, little places like that to play teams, going to Kansas City. Like, I think that's where, our bond and my love for the game really kind of started to grow. And then, I only played 2 years of AAA. I got cut from the Pee Wee Quebec team. And then it was Perry Turnbull and Mike Zook that were the head coach of the AAA team. And I played 2 years of AAA under them. And I think I just learned so much about the game, how to play away from the puck, how to defend, how to be a good teammate, a good line mate, a good D partner. I learned so much from those guys in that short window of time. And then going and playing junior B hockey for Jack Bean when I was a sophomore in high school. So 15, 16 years old, played against 20-year-olds. You think you're this big, strong kid, and I'm, 6 foot, 150 pounds at the time, playing against 20-year-olds that aren't even going to college. They're just playing junior B hockey and loving life. So it was humbling yet eye-opening. But Jack Bean was so good to me, gave me a big role there to be able to compete and play against these older kids. And I think that's what helped groom me for the USHL.
Yeah, and my kid played at Kirkwood too. I mean, it's just a great organization and a great place to kind of set the tone and kind of help you kind of create that passion for the sport. So, all right, you're going into the St. Louis Amateur Hockey Hall of Fame. When did you find out? And I mean, listen, you're an accomplished player. You're working in the NHL still today. Stanley Cup winner. You've been around for a long time. This still means something to you, right? I mean, when you find out, it's got to be, exciting to kind of learn that you're going into any Hall of Fame, but especially to be recognized here in St. Louis and to go in with a couple of guys you've known for a long time. What does that mean to you?
Well, it's humbling first and foremost. And I think the coolest part is being able to go in with Benny Bishop and Paul Stasny. Stas being a grade ahead of us at Chaminade and being the quality of player and person that he was a guy that everybody just kind of wanted to follow in his footsteps. Just the discipline, the habits that he had, the love for the game, the intelligence. He was a guy that, while he was only a year older than me, I really looked up to. He was a big part of the reason I ended up going to Denver. Had a number of conversations with him about the experience there as I was being recruited there and why he ultimately chose it. So I think being able to share this night with two guys that I've been teammates with and can still call friends to this day. I mean, it's crazy to think that, Paul and I played high school hockey together, college hockey, and then played on the Blues together. It's looking back at that now as you get older, you reflect on some things. It'll be a special night.
Yeah, and Bishop obviously played college hockey too. He played for the Blues also, so it's amazing that all three of you guys actually ended up playing for the Blues in the National Hockey League. Did you guys all go to high school together? Was Jan there too? I mean, it's amazing. I always say it's amazing you guys didn't win it. It's always so funny that you guys didn't win it, even though none of you guys stuck around for your senior seasons or maybe even your junior seasons. So that's probably why. But still, were you guys all there together? And if I would have told you, Chris, that you guys all were going to end up playing in the NHL back then, like, would you have believed me? That would you have believed me that Paul and Jan and Bish were going to make it too? Like, give me your mindset, back then.
Yeah, I think for me, Paul was a no doubter. I think to this day, he's one of the most cerebral, intelligent players that I've ever seen. Everybody wants to knock his skating and tried to pinpoint that as something that was maybe going to hold him back as he continued to rise up levels. But I think he's one of the best passers. He's great on faceoffs. He's so intelligent what he knows about the game and how he thinks it. So to say, was I surprised that he made it? Absolutely not. And Bish was just such a freak athlete. I mean, we played baseball and we played at Kirkwood growing up together. Like, he was always the big lanky kid, but he was a good basketball player. He was a good baseball player. He's a good golfer. Like, he's a tremendous athlete for his size. I still like to remind him that I scored my first ever collegiate goal on him against the University of Maine. So, but surprised that he made it either. No, goalies tend to take a little bit more time, but he was so athletically gifted and that big. The way he could play the puck, like, you had to change your forecheck and your game plan based off of how good he was with the puck. Like, he was like having a third defenseman on the ice.
Even back then? Like, could he play? Yeah. Okay.
I mean, at the University of Maine, they used to win faceoffs in the D zone towards the net front, and they would fly a winger out, and he would like basically throw a saucer pass out to center ice, and guys would get breakaways. Like, he was truly gifted.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, so your family, they got to be excited about it too. It's a good excuse to come back to St. Louis. So are you genuinely excited to come back, and are you looking forward to, have you started on your speech yet, Chris? Like, where are we at with this?
I haven't started on the speech yet. I think we're under pretty strict guidelines to keep it to 5 minutes or less, so that's fine by me. But no, I love coming back. It's sporadic in my opportunities to come back, but I got a chance to come back twice this year, being for Kelly Chase's event, which is something that I think means a lot to the community, a lot to Chaser, and he means so much to me personally. So it's great to come back for that and to be here for the Frozen Four too. It'll always be home. It always feels like home, and I love coming back.
Yeah. Well, I MC the event, so my job is to make sure everyone's on time and we're moving it along, but I'll give you an extra couple minutes.
No need. You don't need 5 minutes is more than enough. So we'll keep it short and sweet.
Some guys were going like 20 minutes. That's why they like had to make some changes there, so. But yeah, an interesting story.
I've heard the rumors. Yeah, and it'll be fun for my dad too. Obviously, Lindsay Middlebrook, who's going in as well.
Yeah,
was my dad's goalie at St. Louis University. So we've got a few different connections for this night, so it'll be fun for our family.
All right, man. Looking forward to it. I know you got to get going. Hey, congrats on everything you're doing too. I'm looking forward to seeing you back in town, and I'm glad we could catch up, Chris. So thanks for doing this, man. We'll be in touch.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Okay, you got it. That's Chris Butler here on Hockey Sense. All right, let's bring Jammer into the mix. What's up?
What are we doing?
I got to throw something at you because I am a voter for the St. Louis Blues Hall of Fame.
Nice.
I got to nominate you, by the way. When you left, and I don't know why I know this, but when you left St. Louis, you had, I think, 595 career games played in St. Louis, which I believe was top 10 at the time.
Yeah, I think so.
I believe it was top 10 at the time.
Just behind Al. I think Al had like 600 and something, 605 or 607.
Okay.
I don't know why I know that.
But I mean, there's a couple guys that I'm considering from your era. Like, listen, you got Chaser. You played with, how many years did you play with Chaser?
I think 2 or maybe 1.5. I believe he got traded to Toronto at that time. But I agree with you. I think Twister and Chaser should go in together.
Yeah, you got to put them together. I agree with that. Did you play with Twister too?
I did. And I think that it goes beyond like what they did on the ice and what they've done in the community and things of that nature. So
that's part of it. That's part of it. Yeah. Community stuff is a part of it. If you want a individual award, which Chaser did win the King Clancy, I believe.
Yeah.
Then that's, you qualify for that. You win a Stanley Cup with the Blues, you qualify for that. There's a lot of things but you had to have played 3 seasons or 200 games with the Blues to even qualify.
Oh, interesting. So that would mean that that mean that Grant Fuhrer
Yeah.
didn't play enough.
No, he did.
He did. Okay.
He played like every game at one. Were you on the team when he played every game?
Well, yes. So funny story. Training camp. He comes to training camp and he was not in shape.
Yeah.
He was in shape, but he was round,
Mm-hmm.
and he would just walk on the treadmill. That's what he would do, and he clearly was out of shape. And Keenan was upset with him, so sent him home. So Furzy goes back to he used to summer and love to play golf in Phoenix. So he goes back to Phoenix a week later, maybe it was 5 days later. Keenan calls him, says, "What are you doing? Get back here." And Furzy said, "No, told me to go home. I'm home." And so he wouldn't come back.
And you're not
for
just paid yet, right? So you're not losing any
No.
paychecks yet.
No.
It's training.
For like 3 days, no Furzy. Finally, 4 or 5 days later, he finally comes back. And from Keenan thinking he wasn't in shape, that year he played 79 of 82 games.
And playoffs.
And playoffs. I've never seen anything like it. Like after every game, he would be iced. Like he had bad eczema and his knees were all tore up because later in part of his career, and he would have bags of ice all over him. And I remember I was a young guy, I walk in the room, 21, and I think to myself, how is he going to play tomorrow? And next thing you know, he'd be playing it. He played every game except for 3.
Yeah, it's amazing. He told that story when he came on with Cam and I too.
Oh, did he really?
Oh yeah. And I mean, exactly like you said it, you know, although he added some stuff to it too, like, cause I think he still has a little bit of, you know, resentment towards it, but, and how you describe how his attitude is, was he always like, you ever see him get mad?
No. Another amazing Furzy story for me was when we were down to Phoenix in the playoffs. I forget what year it was, maybe 2001 or something like that. We were down 3-1. I don't know if you remember this, but they had a closed door meeting with just the players and all the players that had been through this before, Al, Jeff Courtnall, guys like of that stature that had played a long time, who had been in this situation where they were down in the playoffs 3-1 and came back. That all spoke. So 4 or 5 guys speak, and then finally Furzy, guys say, "Hey, Furzy, you got anything to say?" Because he certainly had been through some wars in the playoffs, and he said, "Guys, you get me to Game 7, I'll shut him out." That's all he said. And I'm like, and I still get chills telling the story because we did get to Game 7, and he did shut Phoenix out on the road, and we won 1-0. I think Pierre Turgeon scored the winner.
Overtime. Right?
Yeah, in overtime. And so, but think about that. Doesn't say much, never really talks, but speaks up when we're down 3-1, says, "You get me to Game 7, I'll shut him out."
Yeah.
And he did.
And I've heard that story from others too, which is just a remarkable story. Cause like, even when you describe Grant Fuhrer, and we'll move on from Grant Fuhrer, but I mean, he was already an established Hall of Famer at the time, right? When he came to St. Louis. So,
yeah.
But that's 249 career games as a Blue for Grant Fuhrer. And Brian Elliott is technically eligible as well. He was part of a Jennings award-winning tandem with Jarro Halak. Turgeon's on there. You play with Turgeon and Dougie Weight.
Yes.
If you're a general manager in their prime, you need a first or second line center. Where are you going?
Ooh. That's a tough one.
I know. And I hate even asking because I love both those guys, but
they're both amazing people and great teammates. I'm probably going with Dougie.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Dougie was the rare superstar who would show some emotion and physicality that was certainly out of character to really show his leadership qualities. I'm not to suggest that you have to do that, but I think that as a teammate really endeared him to me. Is like, here he is, like a guy who isn't known for this, recognizing the moment, as uncomfortable it is for him, not really a physical player, to go out and do that. It really showed his leadership ability. But Turge was an amazing player, and a guy who could do it all kinds of ways, scored some amazing goals, and was probably ahead of the curve. You think about guys now; it's normal for Nathan McKinnon to do squats in the morning of a game day. Guys were frowning and looking at Turge doing similar stuff on a game day in the morning and wondering why is he doing that? It's going to affect his legs. He just needs to, and he was kind of ahead of the curve in a lot of respects in the training parts of things.
Wow. And he put up unbelievable numbers too, and he's a Hockey Hall of Famer now too. So that's interesting. Dougie had some serious injuries though when he came here. He had that oblique injury coming out of the Olympics. It just really set him back. And the shoulders go. What's the first part of your body if you injure that? Is it a shoulder? Or is it a knee? Where it's just it's hard to regain that form.
Probably say knees first, just because as you get older, you got to keep up. And if that's something that goes, it's going to make it even more difficult to keep pace.
Mm-hmm.
But I think guys have been able to figure it out, particularly if they weren't physical players, if they had a bad shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shoot, there's lots of stories of guys playing with separated shoulders in the playoffs and managing to get it done. So I would say in that order.
I gotta give Matthew Brady and Big Walt a shout out because they're all on the cover of the EA Sports NHL 26. I mean, I'm just giving it to them today on the group text. I'm like, I told Walt he should have been in the middle. I go, they put you in the background. They got Matthew in the middle, but what an accomplishment!
I texted him. I said, "You look like a male model," and I don't remember the boys that they're that much bigger than him. He looks like he's 5'10" relative to how tall big the boys look in the picture.
I know. It's so cool though. I mean, it really is. I mean, just what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they don't rub you the wrong way either. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like they take all their success and they don't change, which is what I love the most about those guys. So it's really cool, man. I think, you want to celebrate St. Louis hockey. I think that is not, no pun intended. That's the poster of what it should look like. You know what I mean? Just the fact that these guys represent St. Louis so well. So that was cool to see that this morning.
Absolutely. I might have to buy a few extra copies and have them sign them, but don't open them. And then in 20 years, see how much they're worth.
I know. Hopefully they give us some. Hopefully we don't have to buy.
I don't know about that.
I didn't know what Keith was talking about though, because the other day Matthew put a picture up, and I was texting, group chat, whatever, and I said, "This is so cool, whatever," and Keith kept saying we had to keep it quiet. We had to keep it quiet, and I just assumed he meant they knew about it, and they just couldn't say anything about Matthew. I had no idea that Big Walt was going to be on the cover of the video game, which is so awesome to see. So along with Brady, obviously. So anyway,
yeah, because you're right. It's not the same thing. It was just Matthew, and the first thing Cruz said was, "Oh, why isn't Brady on there?"
Yeah, and
I said, "I don't know. It's a good point. Good opportunity to put both of them on there." And then I saw today they're all three. That's awesome.
I know. Did you miss Shanahan here in St. Louis?
I did. Yep. Would you put him in? Is that what we were talking about? Putting him in?
I mean, he had back-to-back 50-goal seasons. I think you gotta put Adam Oates in too, even though he was only here for 3 years.
Yeah, I think you do.
With the seasons that he had.
Especially because he was the guy who helped Holly have that one of those magical seasons, right?
I know. He had 92 assists one year when Holly had 86. But he missed like half the year.
Wow.
Or 20 games or something. Like if he would have played those 20 games, how many goals would Brett says he would have had close to 100 goals, if not over, if he didn't miss those 20 games.
Really?
And Adam Oates would have finished with well over 100 assists if he didn't miss those games. So pretty amazing. David Backes, played 700 plus games. Alexander Steen played a long time, 765 games here as a Blue. So, and then you get into the Oshis and some of these other guys, who obviously will get in at some point in time. So listen, some great names. Did you know anything about the history of the Blues when you got drafted here? Like, did you know how many great players had come through here?
I knew the players of the generation, the 15 years before, the generation and a half before me, from like best way to explain it would be from Bernie to like my age.
Mm-hmm.
I knew the relative players just from following the league of guys that have played for the Blues. So I knew those guys, but before that, absolutely no idea.
Mm-hmm.
No clue. But I think just being a fan of the game, I kind of and back then, I'm from Toronto in the old Chuck Norris division. They're in the same division as the Toronto Maple Leafs, so I kind of watched them a lot. It felt like too. So
Mm-hmm.
that same with Minnesota and Detroit and Chicago back then.
All right. So from a coaching perspective, I'm curious because I was talking to one of the other coaches today from my kids' team. We had practice last night, and it's like how hard do you push? How loud do you raise your voice? Like how it's like everything's changed over the years, but like I'm just curious your opinion on the matter of really if players are making mistakes, mental mistakes, if they're not focused, like what can the mentality be on the ice from a coaching perspective? I mean, it's okay to raise your voice, is it not? Like if you have to get a point across.
Absolutely. I think that one of the most important things I think early on is to establish the standard. And as coaches, regardless of the level, whether they're 10 years old or they're 25 years old, I believe at the beginning of the year, you have to, as a coach, establish the standard. And then as time goes on, you hope that you have the correct players that you can point to that are showing the standard that you established. And then you kind of are able to back off a little bit and let them recognize if that was the correct standard and continue to kind of push those alphas and those players that are 4 or 5 of them that are doing those things and are paying attention. And I think you can strategically, as a coach, verbally reward those players, and any player listening is going to want that same positive feedback. So I think that I always say that the kids haven't changed. Perhaps our expectations of them have changed. So it's sports, and you're playing at a AAA level. The expectation is different. Things aren't given to you; they're earned. And I think as a young age, it's important that they understand how important the practice habits are, and establishing that at the beginning of the season. I think you're well within your coaching rights to, and I would implore coaches to like set a standard, and if that means raising your voice, stopping practice, that's what you need to do.
Yeah, and listen, conditioning is a huge part of it too. I mean, when we were growing up, I'm sure your coaches were the same way. You get on the goal line and you do a bunch of skating and whatever at the end of practice, or maybe at the beginning of practice. And we did conditioning yesterday. It may be the first time that the kids really ever got bag skated. You know what I mean? I mean, you know how it is. The hockey club organization, there's so many kids on the ice, it just doesn't lend to that type of opportunity. So now you have a team, and we put a kid with the puck at the top of the circle, and then 3 kids at the bottom of the circle. You blow the whistle, and the 3 kids try to catch the kid with the puck, and they go around 2 times around the ice. You got tires, just around the top of the circles at the other end of the ice, and it was. I mean, they were going pretty hard, but it's.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
I would suggest to do that in the middle of practice.
Really?
Because first of all, kids at that age, between the age of 8 and like 13, they only remember the end of practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the fitness component, that element, is part of this part of the beginning of a season. But if you put it at the end, they perceive it as a punishment. If you put it in the middle, they start to internalize it as this is just part of our practice, and then we get back to practice.
Yeah.
And then you finish with the game, and then the only thing they remember is the game at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if you keep it at the end, they perceive it as a punishment, when really it's just a requirement to get to where you want to be, right?
Part of practice. Yeah.
Yeah.
How much conditioning will you guys do?
I don't know, buddy. I get to sit back and just push pucks into the corner.
In the past, how much have you done?
I think I always like to use Billy Guerin's saying, we'll create some mustache drills. I think you can be very creative as a coach nowadays in disguising your bag skating within your drill.
Mm-hmm.
If your drill has an element where you go down the ice, you come back down the ice, and you go back down the ice again, the fact that they have a puck or they're creating an offensive situation or back check, like you can create drills, I believe, that disguise that stuff. So, am I saying that without the pucks is not necessary or required? Sometimes, yes, for mental toughness, mental fitness, creating a standard. But I think there are creative ways coaches should and are capable of in disguising it within their own practice.
Okay, so when he called it a mustache drill because you're disguising it.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. He's like, you're not fooling me with these mustache drills.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, no, it's interesting, and the kids like it too. It creates a little bit of a competitive environment too. You know, I think the days of just doing mountains or skating for punishment, I guess you can still do that, you know, if you have a bad weekend or something like that, or the kids trash the locker room or a hotel or didn't act right or represent the team or the organization properly on the road. I guess you can certainly implement that. But I think there's so many different ways to condition hockey players versus what we saw in the past.
I agree. I think there's way more creative ways to do it. It's just, I think sometimes you maybe you get a little bit lazy as a coach and you're just saying this is what we're going to do. I think if you put some thought into it, you can come up with some creative ways to do it. So yeah. It's tough because a lot of the young youth coaches, they have real jobs, so they don't have time to be thinking about these things all day long. But when you're scouring, when you have nothing else to do and you're thinking about these things, then you can come up with ways and creative ways to keep the boys working and getting in shape.
Yeah, a couple more things for you. And my daughter, I'm pretty sure your daughters too, they just did the beep test. Now, I remember you guys doing the beep test during training camp for the Blues. I remember seeing that for years when I first started covering the team, and I'm pretty certain that you would have been involved in that. Like, that kind of went away. What do you think of the beep test in general?
Well, my older daughter, who's at K-State, they just got a new coach this season, and they had to create a new standard for the beep test. They all had to get 35. So
really,
a really high number. Yeah,
super high.
And so she worked her tail off, and took her a couple times, but she ended up getting 35 or 36. And coach said basically, if you don't get to it, you're not going to play. So, yeah, it's a great indicator. It's not an easy test. It goes to an odometer. It gets faster and faster as each stage you go. As you know, I believe it's 22 meters or something like that apart, and you've got to get there and back before the beep. And it starts to speed up over time. It takes about 15 minutes to complete, assuming you get to around 35, 40. 2 fouls and you're out, kind of thing. So it's a really good indicator of aerobic fitness and your anaerobic threshold.
Yeah. And who's been training during the summer? They do it on the very first day, you know?
Yeah, you can't fake it.
So if they don't get 35, they have to do it again until
do it again.
the next day.
Doing it again. No, I think they were doing it every week, every Tuesday. They've been back there since the beginning of July. They play Mizzou tonight at Mizzou. Yeah.
Can you watch those games?
Normally I can during the regular season. They're on ESPN Plus, but it's exhibition. They're a preseason, so I don't believe it's on there.
Every game's on ESPN Plus, pretty much?
Yeah, pretty much every game.
Wow. That makes it easy. Hey, last thing for you, because I know you've seen Celebrini and these guys work up, close. There's videos out there of him training with, Will Smith, obviously, who his good buddy, but then Crosby and McKinnon. I mean, for these guys to be training with those guys and for those guys to invite them to come train with them, I just think it's amazing. I don't know if it was always like that when you were a kid or coming into the league, where like the best players in the game would like open the door for the young teenage superstars to come train with them. It says a lot about all four of these guys, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's changed, right? Like we would never train together. Like they even work out together in groups and different teams. It's a whole different vibe than I remember coming into the league, and even if it was Bryce Salvador on a different team and we were going through warm up, we would just give a head nod to each other. There would be no standing at center catching up. Like we'll talk after the game, but you see these young guys because they all work out together, they all hang out together, they're talking, they're catching up. It's like, can you imagine doing that in front of Basil McRae and Al and Prongs and some of these older guys that would be like, what are you doing?
Twister.
It would be perceived like you're cutting a deal, right? So those days are gone. They all work out, they all train together. I have to get over it. That's the way the league works, and that's the way it is in the summer. But I think that some of the guys that are able to like keep some of that separate, I think it gives them an edge. It certainly gives them an edge.
If you keep it separate?
Yeah, I always joke with Prongs that he was always friends with the goalie because if he was friends with it, more friendly with anybody else, he might have to play against him, and then he'd lose that. You weren't sure, is he going to cross check me in the face? Is he going to slash me? He kept you on edge. But yeah, I think that part is all gone, completely gone.
I think the fans love it. Listen, when you can see, a Celebrini skating with Crosby, and the fact that Crosby, hey, he wants to stay young. He's so competitive. He wants to stay on top of his game. So why not have the best, young kids come in and help you stay young too,
I don't think there's a better example of how to play the game than Celebrini right now. A young player, defensively aware, great stick, offensively gifted, hardworking, humble. Like there's so many, destined to be a captain. Probably could be a captain now, but if they wait till he's 21, it'd probably be a good idea. But yeah, just an unbelievable worker, gets out there early, works on his game, and he's not just an offensive guy. He can play the game the right way.
Yeah, and Will Smith, we don't talk about him enough either. I mean, he's a hell of a talent too, so.
It took him a while to find his game because he's more of a cerebral, read off of people, timing, but after like 25 games, he became really, really effective. And you kind of start to see, okay, now I get it, why everyone was so high on him. Like very, very skilled, smart player.
San Jose, Chicago, Anaheim. Who's the best team 5 years from now?
I'm going to go with San Jose.
Yeah, it's fair.
They got a legit goaltender, 3 studs up front. Not sure what they have on the back end, but it's I think for me it's them.
Okay. You know who else is a stud? Dobbs Tires and Auto Center, man.
Well, I just got this update for August, and they say all store locations, Dobbs is offering fantastic savings on the best tire brands and great service offers. They say click to go to Dobbs.com for more complete details and for info about all their money saver deals on expert auto service too, including Dobbs' amazing service deals to get your family's vehicles ready for the school year ahead. Doesn't matter what you drive, a gas, hybrid, EV, the Dobbs team of experienced tire technicians and ASC certified associates will service them all. Go to Dobbs.com for more.
There you go. I'm a repeat customer. I'll never go anywhere else. I tell you that. Dustin Dobbs, everybody over there, they're the best in the business. All right, Jammer, great stuff, man. Appreciate it as always. We'll do it again next week. Enjoy practice tonight.
All right, looking forward to it.
Okay. Take care,
See you,
man.
bud.
Talk soon. All right, I hope you enjoyed today's show. Listen, always great to catch up with Chris Butler. Great conversation. Had a really nice career. And now he's going to go into the St. Louis Amateur Hockey Hall of Fame. Scotty Rupp, everybody who put that on. It's an amazing event. You get a chance to come on out. Be there. August 23rd, St. Charles Convention Center. Just Google St. Louis Amateur Hockey Hall of Fame. You'll see all the information and figure out how to buy tickets and all that. Paul Stastny, Ben Bishop, Lindsay Middlebrook, a lot of guys going in this year. Looking forward to it. And we appreciate Jamal Mayers, as always, joining us for Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. Nobody makes life simpler than our friends over at First Community. I mean, they do so many things great. It's kind of hard to know like where to even start. Home loans, auto loans, they got tons of options. Be sure to ask about that. But I always tell people to make your money work for you, which is so important because there's so many ways to invest your money these days. You got the stock market, they've been around forever. And now there's all this cyber currency, but you got to be careful with that. So the high reward investments, they come with higher risk, right? That only makes sense. But that's just the way it is. So unlike most high risk investments, there's a lot of ways to protect your hard earned money. And one way is to make sure that it's insured, to insure your money. You may have not even known you can do that. So interest rates on deposit accounts, they've been great, to be honest with you, these past few months. I mean, so check that out. You can still get a great rate, especially at First Community. They always have great rates. There's still great rates on CDs right now for short-term commitments, like 12 months and 18 months. And you don't have to be a high roller. Everyone thinks you got to be like a big-time high roller. Your monies have just got to, your pockets have to be filled with money. It's just not always the reality, and First Community knows that. So you can open up a CD with as little as $500. And if you don't want to tie up your money at all, you should consider a money management account. So the more you invest, the higher the rate. There's no monthly service charge. So keep that in mind. No monthly service charge. Don't bury it in your yard or stuff it under your mattress. You don't have to do that. Make it work for you. Keep it safe. And the team at First Community is there to help you figure out what's best for you. For complete terms and conditions, visit firstcommunity.com. 1-800-767-8880. 1-800-767-8880. First, or Blue Note Roofing, 314-920-5713. Insurance claims specialist, hail, wind, damage, anything you've had storm-related, let them take care of you. Roofing, gutters, soffit fascia, all of that. Siding, they'll take care of you. David Novak, 314-920-5713. Lordo's Diamonds, they are the very best, been around for 70 years. LordosDiamonds.com. Stop on in, say hi to Mike and Jimmy. You're looking to pop the question, no better time to do so. And nobody does it better than Lordo's Diamonds. LordosDiamonds.com. Dirt Cheap Fun Fun, your one-stop party shop. Download the app. Find the location nearest you. Many of the locations, you can do all your shopping online. You never even have to get out of your car. They've got drive-thrus, curbside assistance. Ask about that, which had the walk-in beer coolers, man. When it's hot outside, that's where you find people like, where's Stricky? Where's he at? Well, he's hanging out inside those beer coolers again. It's always cool inside the beer coolers. The Wallace family taking St. Louis to the next level, one dirt cheap at a time. And we certainly appreciate that. Frontenac Detailing. I told you this recently that I took my car to go see Jim over at Frontenac Detailing. So they're right inside the Honda of Frontenac. They fix it all. Premium detailing, paint correction, ceramic coatings. I had that done on my car. Looks nicer than the day I drove it off the lot. Window tinting. Are your wheels scuffed? Get that taken care of. Is your windshield chipped? Get that taken care of. They can do it all. Interior damage? Burn holes? Whatever it is, man. Somebody do that to your car? Golly, don't ever let those people in your car. I'll tell you that right now. But they can repair, replace, and certainly restore your car. Dents, dings, hail damage, bumpers, fenders, hoods, doors, doesn't matter. Go to frontneckdetailing.com. Again, frontneckdetailing.com. All the information is there. Your 5-star choice for automotive appearance. Let Jim take care of you. 314-226-7411. You can text him there, and he'll get right back to you. 314-226-7411. If you're looking to take a vacation, beach vacations, honeymoons, ski vacations, Travel House, travelhouse.com, HAUS, travelhouse.com. Call Gail today. Check it out, travelhouse.com, for all your vacation needs. This has been Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. We appreciate Chris Butler for joining us, and certainly Jamal Mayers. We got Maddie on the ones and twos behind the scenes, helping us get on and off today. Over here at HHoF Studios, nobody does it better than HHoF Studios. Alex, the entire team here, we appreciate the opportunity to record from this studio, the best in St. Louis. You won't find another one that's better than HHoF Studios, located right here in Creve Coeur. We love being here, so we thank the entire team. Alex, Maddie, Aiden, everybody affiliated with HHoF Studios, helping us out each and every week. Again, we're recording this a little bit differently this week, midweek versus our typical Fridays. I got to head to out of town for my daughter's soccer, so we're doing this a little bit earlier. So if something happens on Thursday or Friday, I apologize. We won't be able to react to that until next week, but it's pretty doubtful. Nothing's really happening right now in the hockey world, but you never know. You never say never. But I'm Andy Strickland, reminding you to keep your head up and your stick on the ice. This is Hockey Sense. We go year round, and we'll do it again next Friday. Have a great rest of your week, everybody.